Nowadays, entertainment is at its easiest to consume. We scroll through various media to the point where it is only used to numb the mind. Everyone knows what a grape is. Oh shit, I'm sorry, back to the video. Personally, I often scroll through Reddit or catch myself refreshing the YouTube's front page to close the tab for those mere 5 seconds of peace, only to reopen that goddamn tab again. I can almost feel the wrinkles in my brain being ironed out from the stupidity. So when met with media that requires extra thinking, it is often referred to as hard to understand or too deep, which causes us to dismiss it and forget about it. This is what I feel about Sonny Boy. People were too quick to dismiss a show that, albeit not being perfect, has an interesting way of portraying the challenges that appear when reaching the point of having to leave the comforts of your own bubble, in this case the bubble being your childhood, and going out to face the real world. The show is basically a metaphor for society, and it shows how each character copes with the challenges a society brings. Due to this, I have heard that Sonny Boy resembles the drifting classroom a lot. Now, I might be uncultured, but I have no clue on this one. So I'll take the drifting school instead. The story revolves around these high school students' survival in this unknown world and how they structure their society. Now, the most important part of the show are the characters and how they develop, whereas the story itself does not really matter in the grand scheme of things. But the character's experience is important. It's not so much about the journey itself, it's about what you learn from the journey. To make the show a little bit interesting, all the students trapped in this new world seem to have developed supernatural powers. And the cool thing about these powers is that they often reflect the person's personality. These superpowers also symbolize the talents of each student and assigns worth to them. As the more talent they have, the more they can, well, give to society. Like, they even made a motherfucking tier list over the superpowers. A tier list! Like, this show is on that YouTube meta. Our protagonist, Nagara, is pretty useless to society. Just like me! Yeah! Self-roast. And me. Nagara feels as though he can't achieve anything, and all he sees is himself falling further behind his peers as they try to improve on their current predicament. I think the show really grasps this experience of being left behind by your peers. When you're young, you don't often have to think as much as you go through your life. There aren't that many decisions you actually have to make that are important for your future. And that is where reality often hits hardest. This is the time where you have to set a goal and go down your own path. As you remain on this step, you can feel the pressure of your peers seemingly already knowing of their goals and moving forward. It can be suffocating being left behind, but often having that extra time leads to greater satisfaction when you finally find your path. As we follow the students, we see how each character develops. This development is not always positive. One example is in one of the earlier episodes where some students don't feel needed by anyone and they are transported to a curtain world where they can shut themselves in and not deal with others. Life and society can often be cruel, and therefore it can sometimes seem best to just shut yourself in and stop thinking about everything else. The reason why I like this show is because it is relatable, but it twists its themes through symbolism and the abstract. We've all had to face reality, reflect on our experiences, and develop ourselves at our own pace. I remember being young and careless, and then suddenly all of these responsibilities and choices just keep piling up. It can be overwhelming when you're young to live up to all the expectations and at the same time decide for yourself what you want in the future. But at some point we have to come to terms with ourselves and make that decision, and also reflect upon that decision to decide whether it was the right or wrong decision. I think a lot of people were turned off by all the symbolism. From my experience, you don't have to understand all the symbolism to enjoy the show. Therefore, I feel like the show is very underrated, since from my perspective, a lot of people drop the show because of its reputation for being hard to understand. I definitely recommend this show. I feel like you should forget the show's stigma and watch the show because it is definitely enjoyable. If you're still not convinced to watch the show, then at least listen to the OST because that's banging, boy.